Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 3 of the Web ROI Tip of the Week, focusing for the month of September on social media. And once again, we have Caleb Saw, our SEO, our social media specialist with us. Welcome, Caleb.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Excellent. So this is week 3, and we're going to be discussing social listening and engagement this week. But before we get too deeply into the how and the what, we're actually the how. I really want to talk about the what first. Caleb, in your expertise, can you please explain what social listening means?
Absolutely. So social listening in itself is kind of what it sounds like. You're just listening. You want to find out exactly what's being said about your business, what's being said about your brand, and what's being said about your industry as a whole across social media. It's this idea of just keeping your ear to the ground and learning about what's going on. It's really important to stay on top of what's going on in your industry, and it also lets you kind of understand better what people are looking for, what people are interested in, what they're passionate about. But just that effort that you make to actually go out and find out what's being said about you, and more importantly about the industry. As we mentioned in the last couple of weeks, things in the digital world, they move so quickly, and you need to actually understand what's changing, what's moving, what's evolving, and social listening helps you stay on top of all of that.
So that's listening. Now, what is engagement? What's social engagement?
All right, so engagement's actually kind of the flip side. That's where you take what you've heard, you take what you understand and this information that you've gathered from listening, and you can actually start to engage with your audience. Now, everybody kind of has this idea that social engagement is, liking or a quick comment on your post and you're responding to someone's comment, or, liking somebody else's photo. And that's good, but you really have to dive deep when you're doing real social engagement. Find out who your audience is and meet them where they are. Rather than waiting for them to come to you, you go to them. They're commenting on another post. Why don't you respond to it and say, hey, I totally get that, and agree with them. Like their photos, follow their accounts. I know sometimes that's a little bit scary, or it's hard to actually invest into other people. But when you do that, your audience suddenly recognizes you and goes, hey, these people actually care about me. They know what my passions are. They know what's bothering me. They know what I'm interested in. I think I want to work with them. They really get me. And so that social engagement aspect of actually going out and meeting your audience where they are is so important to actually finding that final return on investment that you're looking for.
So Caleb, can you enlighten us with why is it so important for small, medium-sized businesses to use listening and engagement strategically in order to draw success from their campaigns? And if you could, in particular, we recognize that social media is different for a B2B versus a B2C company. And logically, a B2C company sees the benefits because most consumers are in social media. But from a B2B perspective, it's a lot more difficult for CEOs and business owners of larger companies that deal in a B2B sector to really wrap their head around how they can effectively use social media. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about why it's important for those types of businesses to use.
Definitely, and exactly like you said, social listening and engagement is important for everyone. And it's definitely clear when you're speaking right to the end user, the end consumer, if you're a B2C company. For B2B, reaching out to another business or trying to engage and listen to another business is a little bit trickier because the person and the audience that you're actually looking for is a little bit different. But kind of the number one thing that social listening and engagement actually helps you with is create better content. So you actually understand what content resonates with your audience, and you can create content that's actually interesting to them. Now on the B2B side, obviously you're not going to be looking at an individual, you're going to be looking at a business, but businesses have pains too. Businesses run into issues, they have troubles, they're looking for ways to improve, to be more efficient, to be more effective, and you can be the solution to that. But you really need to make sure that you understand what that business's issues are, where they're lacking, and where you can actually help them improve. These two elements also help you to track your brand. So you've got your own branding out there, you've got your own hashtags, all of that information. It allows you to find out what people are saying about you. Again, if you're looking on the B2B side, maybe there is somebody who's looking for something in your industry without using your brand name. Well, this social listening allows you to actually hear them. You can find them. You say, okay, you know what? We're Web ROI. We offer digital marketing services. And these guys are really struggling with their social media or their SEO. And I see that. This can really help them. Well, social listening is going to it is going to allow you to understand what they're looking for, and that social engagement is going to allow you to offer a solution to them. You can respond really easily that way. It also gives you the opportunity to acknowledge when people are talking to you. Like I said earlier, if somebody's commenting on something because they're struggling with something, reply to their comment, even if it's not on your own content. Open those lines of communication, whether it's another business or an individual, and it really allows people to recognize you as a brand. It also gives you the opportunity to learn about your audience. Again, looking on the B2B side, you've got these large businesses and they need help. They've got issues, they're running into problems. The world is constantly changing. Well, you and your business has solutions, but you're not going to know that they have problems if you're not listening. You need to put your ear to the ground, find out, hey, these guys are actually looking for somebody and they're looking for this solution that we offer. Learning about that audience, incredibly important, and social listening is the best and most effective way to do that. Finally, it also helps you to build better social media marketing campaigns. You're putting the effort in, you're spending the money, you're making sure that you've got good quality social media uh, content going out. Make sure that it's better. Do better. Find out more information, make better content. Find out what people are looking for, make better content with it. The more you listen, the more you learn, the better your content's going to be, and your audience is going to love you for it. And again, that's where that return on investment comes in.
Great. Caleb, when when companies are laying out their social media strategy plan, obviously they can choose to do it in-house. They can assign, they can do it themselves if for a small company in some cases, or they may have a staff person that they want to assign this to, or they might decide to outsource it to a company like WebROI. But whatever that choice is, how do they determine how to how to structure it? How much time should they spend building content and posting it, and how much time should they spend listening and engaging with their audience?
Sure. So of course, the amount of time is always going to change. It's going to depend on the amount of content you're using, the amount of channels that you're using. But what I always say is if you're going to use X number of hours to create content, to put it up on social media, to post it, you need to use that exact same amount of time in your social engagement and your social listening. So you need that much time, those two portions, about 50-50, or a 1-to-1 ratio between those two in order to actually do this social engagement and social listening. It's really easy to kind of just sweep this under the rug and hope that everything kind of works on its own, but it's so important to make sure that you're actually actively going out and doing it. And it's a big job. It takes time. It does take quite a bit of time and quite a bit of investment to actually make sure you've got somebody who's going in there. It doesn't have to necessarily be daily, but the more often, the better. There's no limit to how much you should be doing it. You just want to make sure that you're not on the lower end. The more you do, the better it'll be.
Is there a weight of importance, like for a successful outcome? If you only did content, or if you only did listening and engagement, which one would have the bigger outcome, the better outcome?
By far, it would be listening and engagement. The reason for that is, again, you're meeting the audience where they are. So they don't even necessarily need to find you always to be able to interact with you. So if you're engaging with them where they are, you are finding them. Suddenly they see your username, they see your brand name, they see your branding, and they actually care more about you. Of course, if you're going to be engaging with them, they're probably going to click through to your profile. They're going to find your social media there and they'll be able to see your content. But actually performing that engagement and that social listening, I can't stress enough how incredibly important that is in your social media strategies.
Do you have an example of a client that perhaps you've worked with that you can enlighten us with?
Absolutely, I do. So we actually had a client who joined us a couple months back, and when they started, they had very little content at all on their social media platforms. They had posted a few times here and there, and maybe they didn't have the time or they just didn't have the resources to actually pour into it. And things weren't really going well. So for them, it was like, hey, you know what, why are we doing this if we're not getting a good return on it? We started working with them. We started getting posts out. And in that first month, again, like I said, you really want to make sure you're consistently posting. And we started to see a little bit of an uptick, but it wasn't really where we wanted it to be. So we said, okay, let's try really pushing hard in the social listening, the social engagement, and see what happens. And for about 3 weeks, we went hard. Almost daily, we were looking at who is interested in them, who's interested in that industry, and we started meeting them where they were. And suddenly we saw their reach and their engagement explode. Suddenly people were following them, people were interested in their posts, people were liking their posts, people were commenting on their posts, and there was this massive turnaround in a really short period of time because, again, people really care to know that a business cares about them.
Fantastic. Caleb, thank you so much for sharing your insight again on social listening and engagement this week. I think this is really this is like the most important aspect of the whole strategy. And I believe from what I've seen and all the businesses that I've talked to over the 15 years that we've been in business, and even though social media isn't really that old, but I believe that social media is very much one-sided as a strategy to most businesses, where they're putting the content, they're taking pictures, they're pushing things out there, but they're not scheduling it, it's not planned, it's not strategic, and then they don't have that element of listening and purposeful engagement. So I think that is really the missing link in a large segment of the social media population that's out there. So really appreciate you sharing your insight this week. And I ask you, to our audience, please tune in next week, because this is where the rubber hits the road and we start talking about metrics, how to measure the results that you're getting from your social media activity, and most importantly, your return on investment. So please tune in next week. And thanks again for your time today, Caleb.
Thanks, everyone.